deal with these types of stuff. So we know that I do a lot of the energy work and I can read the energy in 5D and look at really what is holding you back from being successful. And these two ladies today, one is from Hawaii and one is from Maryland, are very, very talented in their field. And so I am so excited to bring them to you. Obviously, since we're doing the show live, you are welcome to post your comments. If you're watching through Facebook, go ahead and post any question. Perhaps there's something that's bothering you, and we are here to be of service to all of you, our viewers. And so I'm going to get started with, by the way, I wanted to say my brother's birthday is today, and my brother's name, I have two brothers actually, they live in San Diego. It's Marvin de Guzman. Hey, brother, happy birthday.
Thank you.
He's wearing glasses now, but this brother of mine, I wanted to bring him in today because he is the sweetest brother out of the two. He's the more emotional of the two. And he came to me. We started working together actually in the past. He was doing my videos because I was doing some retreats, and he had some kind of a back pain. He came, drove from San Diego, and by the way, he loves driving, so he doesn't mind driving 2 hours to get to my place in Orange County. So, hey, brother, can you share with them how does it feel like living in a family wherein you have like a sister that's a little bit kind of out of the box, or some people call me weird or unusual,
Yeah. Some people
especially
call
when you
you
had
the
that back pain.
some people call you the juju doctor. That's what they call you.
Okay, okay, so your friends do call me that, and
Your
so
friends
can you,
call you that. All right. So how it started basically when you were in physical therapist,
right? I was a
physical
physical
therapist.
therapist.
I kept on going back to your house just to cure my back pain.
Hmm.
And then you told me that you got really tired of being in that industry because they always come back and not really heal. So that's why you went to a different path, which is the IMT.
Hmm.
One day, I think you had this big stack of books that you were
Yep.
practicing. And I think the first one we did it, I think it was two sessions. We did the first one in your living room, and you had me perform the usual stuff. But when you were studying, or like when I think you already had this, I call it power. It's like
Hmm.
you had me lay down on one of the massage table, and then what you did, long story short, what you did is you placed your hand behind my back, and I started feeling something moving back there. I don't know what it was, but you told me that you're trying to realign my
Yep.
my gut stuff. But then there was also this feeling where your hands were hot. It's like
Uh,
super, but you weren't touching me. So
hmm.
I said, oh, okay, whatever that is, keep going. So I think the second session we did it through your garage, and that one actually cured. Well, I wouldn't say. I think it. Okay, I'll say it's cured, but right now I'm basically it's up to me now to maintain it.
Hmm.
By eating right and exercising. I still got back issues, but it's not chronic anymore. So it's
Right.
usually when I eat too much because I like food. So
Right. Right. So yeah, we set the energy towards healing, and then of course the maintenance part is up to you. Yeah. Perfect.
right. So there's I got to tell you this. Whoever's watching this one, it's real. So there are stuff that she can do where even on the phone, when I'm talking to her, when I feel like it's not, sometimes it's not a back issue anymore. When I feel like, how I feel in a given day, it's like really down and out, negative feelings. Like as she mentioned, the emotional part. There are moments where she tells you to just basically relax, my sister, and tells me, and then she would say something, and then you have to ground yourself. All of a sudden, it's like things start moving, and this is all over the phone. And he goes like, how could
Mm-hmm.
you do that over the phone? And sometimes I do, people, if people are not prepared, they do get scared.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how can you do that? So
Yeah.
I think that you really got the blessing and the power to heal people and help people, and that's what you did for me. So that's why I'm very thankful for that.
Thank you and happy birthday. And I love you. And I know that one of my clients, one time, Marvin just wanted to see me, and he has his new motorcycle, and he drove 2 hours, but he only saw me like 5 to 10 minutes just because it was I had three clients back to back, right? I was doing hands-on healing there at that time in a clinic. And so my client said, "Oh, that is so sweet." I said, "Yeah, he's the sweetest brother that I have. He really like connects people together. Even when we were little, though, he was the one who bit me in the back. It was really tough, you know.
No,
I remember that. That's the part that I remember about this brother of mine. But when we grew up, right, and he was the most rebellious, always contradicting my mom and everything. But he's the sweetest, and he's a great cook, and he's a great husband and a great father. So I love you, brother. Thanks for being here.
thank you so much for having me at the show. But
Yeah, thank you.
more power to you.
Thank you. Take care.
Love you, sister. Bye bye.
Love you. Bye bye. All right. So thank you, everyone. So I just want to share my joy with having that brother of mine in my life. So I have two of them, and we're like 4 years apart each. So anyway, speaking of family healing, I have met this wonderful woman through when we wrote the book. Right? I wrote a book, Awaken Your Medical Intuition, and I met this wonderful lady named Kat Mulvaney. So, Kat. And I know you have moved. Now you're in Hawaii, but where were you before? What state?
I was in Oregon, only for 18
Oregon, that's
months.
right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then now you're in Hawaii. So share with us like what brought you to Hawaii. I know
Um,
it's something about family.
well, growing up, I grew up in Georgia
Okay.
in a suburb of Atlanta, and I felt very out of place. I felt very much like I would look around and think, this is weird. I didn't know the term matrix or from that movie, but
Yeah.
now that I know that term, I think that I felt that way, where I would look around and think, everyone is enjoying this, but I'm not enjoying this at all. And I
Mm,
just listened to the teachers and my parents. I tried to do well in school. I tried to do well in sports. I put a lot of pressure on myself. And then after college, I still didn't like what was happening. I
mhm.
always, I was an only child. My parents were not very happy. So after college, when I still did not enjoy life, I really started trying to figure out how can I
Mhm.
put myself in a intentional situation where everything does
Right.
feel good. And what I wanted, what I could feel in my bones, and what I had memories of perhaps past lives, is a great sense of community. A
Ah.
sense of community that I did not have growing up,
Right. Uh-huh.
where there's kids close by that you could play, that my children could play with all the time, where there's other adults that you're close with, that you're
Uh-huh.
able to be honest with about your needs. So after I had my first child in 2014, my husband was traveling a lot, and I do not have a big family. So I became very determined to get somewhere that was very close to nature, where I could be anchored and nourished,
Right.
but where my children could be free to run and be close to nature. So we moved
Wow.
here to form a heart-centered, intentional community and build a spiritual school for
Wow.
children that are what many people call star seeds, but
Right.
children that badly need the information that you teach, the information that I teach, the
Mhm.
holistic, spiritual, heart and purpose and nature-based lifestyle.
Yep.
And that's why we came here.
That's awesome. I know, and I was a witness to your journey. I remember, when we started writing the book. And hey, you guys, as we travel, like I said, we can be in 3D, physical plane, 4D, transitioning, or 5D. It's not right or wrong what you choose, but you just have to know where you're at, right? and how you are living your life as a family. So in the case of Kat, I have seen her, right? Because she was trying to piece together, that was the beginning part. It's like, how come I wanted this, but I have this? And I'm sure all of us, that's part of the healing process, right? We sometimes are born in a family, and by the way, we chose our family, whether we like it or not. If you are awake, if you are a spiritual being, you know you chose your parents and all the
Absolutely.
dysfunctions that went with that. Okay, so that's the 5D reality, and you no longer have an emotional trigger once you get to the place of allowing that, like, oh, okay, I got it, there's a lesson that needed to be learned, I learned that lesson, and now what do I need to create now for my family? And that's exactly what Kat is doing. So how does Hawaii feel? I don't know how many months you've been there now, so tell me what's going on. How many, yeah, when did you
Um,
relocate from Oregon?
I came from Oregon. I got a I was I first came to the Big Island last March of 2019. I was a very I had a very big call by my
Yeah.
spiritual team to go to the specific island.
Okay.
And parts of Hawaii, as well as Sedona in Arizona and Mount Shasta in California,
Mhm.
which are all very high vibration locations, were supposedly a part of of an ancient land called Lumeria.
Mm.
So I had been to Kauai and to Maui before, but when I set foot, well, when I was called to come here, and then when I set foot here, I felt so grounded. This island is
Wow.
very elemental, and
Right.
and I just felt like I was home. Every time I would leave, I would cry. Um,
Oh.
and so I felt very strongly that this was the island that we should choose. I have a dear friend, a soul sister, who wants
Hmm.
to do this work as well. So she's coming this summer with her children, and we're putting a big
Wow.
call out to like world schooling and unschooling groups, people that
Right.
are already aware that their children need contact with the world and with other cultures. I'm
Right.
putting a call out to them to let them know that this town is such a wonderful place to raise children, and that spiritual entrepreneurs that can work remotely or that run retreats, that we can intentionally become neighbors in this
Wow.
very beautiful small town that's very affordable, and support each other and create a beautiful system of homeschooling or unschooling our children together as a community,
Uh-huh.
and
Right.
growing our food, working together for meal preparation.
Mhm.
Now in this time of COVID, we see that not only is our schools never going to be the same, but also
Yeah.
the whole thing of going to restaurants and getting takeout. I think
Yeah.
we've all been cooking more than we ever have, right, the past few months. So this is all
Yep.
part of my vision, and the model that I've created is called holistic play, where
Got
um,
it.
where parents and families that are like us
Right.
get together and work together and teach their children not just like baseball and things that are fun but not that beneficial,
Right.
but all the
Mhm.
beautiful modalities like Tai Chi and yoga and sound
Right.
healing and
Yep.
intention
That's
setting.
awesome.
Those, in addition to other, school subjects, is really the future of education.
Wow. Yeah. And I know a lot of light workers are really forging the way to that because, like you
Yes.
said, instead of us being told what to do and rules to follow, when you start really clearing a lot of the family history and the ones that cause us pain, right? The negative stuff, it is very, very possible to actually move into that positive energy, or what we call allowing and neutral, right? But what are you allowing if you're allowing the negativity to simmer, right, in our system? So we all have to link arms together to actually make this happen. So wow, thank you for that. So share with them, is there something that you want to share with them so that they can reach out to you if they want to connect with you?
Sure. My first book is called A Good Day at School, although it's not about school at all. If you or any parent it's has a child or a child in their family who is struggling, and they think that they're special needs, or they've been labeled in some way that doesn't quite sit with you,
Mhm.
right? This
Mhm.
book can explain what's really going on, like what what spiritual thing is occurring that's causing the child to struggle. So that book is now on all major online retailers since bookstores are closed. But you can also download it for free on my website. And my website is just my name. I'll hold it up so you see the spelling, but it's just my name.com. And you can download the book. You can download the book for free, and then I'll have your email address. And my second book is coming out this summer, and I can make sure you get a copy of that as well.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. So awesome. All right. So let me bring up the next speaker, and then I'll come back to you, okay? Don't go away.
All right. Thanks,
we have
Vivian.
a few more questions. Thank you so much. All right. So now I want to bring up Miss Renee Feller. All right, Renee, how are you?
Quite well.
So Renee is from Baltimore, Maryland. So can you share with the audience a little bit about you? Go ahead and share that with them.
I feel like I've reached a stage of being almost an elder in the community, of earning some wisdom, growing up in a family that was overly loving, I shouldn't say no boundaries, but poor boundaries. And poor boundaries, not no. I fully believe that I chose my family. I've been spiritual all along, and I know that I chose my family for to learn certain things in life, and that's where I'm at right now. I've morphed. I did what the family expected me to do. I went into nursing. That was a good profession to go into, and it served me well. It still serves me well. Because I practice, and not only as a coach, and I also practice as a nurse psychotherapist. And what that's done for me is I've added the spiritual components. I added also in my morphing into different areas, I've become a spiritual director, as well as have added the what we call the non-dual Kabbalistic healing component. And it comes from a form of non-duality, of a belief that everything is one in the world. Everything is together. And so nowadays I do my coaching from that integrative perspective, body, mind, spirit, soul. It's all together.
Right. Nice. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about that concept, right? Like everyone, like we are all connected. I always say that to, like, we're brothers and sisters. And sometimes, you know how the people in your life, right? Your brothers and sisters, your family members, parents, how do you know when to be, I guess, thinking for yourself and then thinking for the group, right? So like, share with us a little bit of what do you think is the importance of yourself when it comes to this family dynamics? So like, because some people, like you said, if you had a good boundary, then you are exposed to that. But if you have poor boundaries, or if you don't have any boundary, and some people don't, they don't have a clue of what that is. So share with us in your teaching the importance of yourself.
I grew up without a sense of myself. I grew up amorphous, if you will. I was part of my family, and what my family wanted was best for me kind of attitude. And I've really worked hard over the years at separating, so that if I'll often say, hold up your thumb. This is your finger. This is your thumbprint.
Yeah. Right.
And hello, thumb. This is my thumbprint. Thank you very much. And I learned along the way that my thumbprint is for me. And if I can step into myself, when I step into myself now, and I constantly practice that. When I step into myself, then I'm able to bring my full self into the world. And in that sense, then there's no blurring of, am I doing this for you? Am I doing it for me? When I do it for me, then the love flows out, and I can do it for you also. It affects the universe also.
Right. Yeah. So awareness is half of the battle, right? Like I said, some of us, we grow up with boundaries, so we know when to say yes or no. But some people don't have any. So then maybe their life's work is finding, okay, who am I in relation to this other person? And then how can you as an individual contribute to the other people, right? The group in general, Right.
Mhm.
So can you share with us, what does love have to do with healing? What does self-love have anything to do with healing families?
Just as you mentioned earlier, I do believe that I chose my parents. For my lessons, for what I need to learn in life, that family history,
Mhm.
and also I was chosen for them for a reason. And so the
Mm,
minute that I love myself, then it flows out to them. And my father, may he rest in peace, he's no longer on this earthly plane, but my
mhm.
mother still is here. And so the
Oh,
moment that I can still be myself and set the boundaries and say, here I am, I
mhm.
love you. I love you, even though you can't love me in the way that I always wanted you to. I still love you. Then
Right.
it helps her to love better also.
Nice. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so share with us your message for the viewers. And also, how do they get in touch with you after this TV show?
Okay, thank you. My message is essentially based on, I think, two quotes that I use frequently. One is by
Okay.
Oscar Wilde, and that is, "Be yourself, everybody else is taken." So the other is really by Oriah Mountain Dreamer, and that is, I want to know if you like the company that you keep when you're alone with yourself. I want to help
Mm,
people who are in transition, who are really struggling to get to
mhm,
the next phase, wherever that phase is. People
mhm.
who are stuck, people who either have difficulty transitioning in their businesses because they want to do something a little different,
Right.
especially healthcare professionals. I will add that at this point, having grown up in that field.
Yeah.
I want to show people that there is life after the job that they have if they're really not in love with it, and
Mm,
that there's life also within their own family system, that you don't necessarily need to leave a family system in order to grow. You have to be
right.
willing to grow.
Nice. Nice.
So,
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
how to get in touch
All
with me, my website, sorry, my website is integrated coaching baltimore.com. And yes, it's up there now. And so there's a point, it blends both my therapy and my coaching background, that website does. And also there's a place at the bottom to sign up for a freebie of about knowing yourself, questions, thoughts about knowing yourself from an integrated perspective. And also there's I do produce a monthly newsletter that has little tidbits about stepping into yourself, being yourself.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right. So let me bring back Kat also. So then, if people have any other questions, I wanted to bring you guys as part of a panel. All right. And let me remove this. And Amy, do we have anybody that is asking a question for this? I'm going to put Amy on with us too. Okay. Amy. So you guys can ask any questions. In the meantime, while we're doing that, I do want to share a book that I read, and this is really, really fascinating. It's called Healing Your Family History by Rebecca Linder Hintz. So it looks like this. And there were 5 steps that she wrote here on healing our family history. So while we're waiting for the questions for these beautiful panel that we have here, so number 1, she said, step 1 is awareness is more than half the battle. Obviously, right? Because if you don't get exposed to other forms of families or family systems, you won't even know, because you think yours was normal because you grew up like that, right? And the thing is, if you have something inside of you, like Renee is saying, your thumbprint, it's like, I am not quite, I don't feel like I'm myself. Or with Kat, because she didn't feel happy. It's like, something's not right, because inside, like, her feelings, her emotions are giving her a different signal that she needed to do something else. So awareness is half the battle, and number 2 is overcoming judgments and fear. So I'm going to ask Kat, So, Kat, did you overcome any judgments or fears from your family when you were working towards your ideal family setting that you like?
Oh, totally. My parents, I think I mentioned, I was an only child, and they were not in a happy marriage. They thought they were obligated to stay together. So I got really mixed negative messages as a kid. And then I'm forgetting your question now. Did I have any healing
Overcoming
over
judgments and fears,
to develop what I'm doing now? Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, basically my parents are think opposite in all things as me. So they prefer that my children were enrolled in a public government school. They prefer that I lived closer to them. So I've had to overcome a lot of 3D thinking that from birth. But one of my greatest strengths and how I've been such a survivor through a lot of hard times is that I really trust and I listen to my intuition and I listen to the voice of my soul and my heart. So no matter what they say to me and what evidence my family or anyone else shows me about what children so-called need, I know in my heart, in my gut, because my womb and my heart, that connection is what guides me, what is best for my children. And I know that what's best for my children is also best for many other children on this earth plane right now. So I just trust that. And that's how my healing came from me deciding to listen to only my GPS, right? My heart.
Thank you. Amy, I think there was a question. Can you please read that one? I think it's for Kat.
Yes, we have a question from Rosemary for Kat. Yes, from Rosemary for Kat. Kat, when will the school be virtual, and what is the age range for the school?
It will be virtual. This is our first season of the school. So right now, the children are from ages 4 to 11, and we're starting in person as we figure out how best to share the information. So likely it will be like, through a Zoom type platform and, like live streaming. That will probably not be until the fall because we have to figure out how best to do that. But the whole entire intention is to develop curriculum that can serve lots of children and either people are going to move here to join our intentional community, or they can learn about our model and set one up in their own wherever they're located, and then work with us as a sister school. And all of the curriculum will eventually be online. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. So remember, awareness is step 1, and step 2 is you have to overcome your judgment and fear. So obviously, if you really know deep in your gut what's right for your kids or for your family, the way you want to set it up, you do have to find those soul sisters and the spiritual souls that you can connect with, because then you can have the right support for you to bring about whatever that is, right? Sometimes it takes us weeks, months, sometimes it takes us years, and some people it takes us a whole lifetime. But the benefit of really bringing your dreams to fruition is, I can't explain that to you. It's like more than magical. All right, so the step 3 is getting past Groundhog Day. So when we get stuck, what do you do? So I'm gonna refer that to Renee. So Renee, in your family system, you know how things happen, right? Because we have 2 opposing belief systems, and you want this, they want that. A lot of times it's just easier to just go with the flow. But what happens now when you're really awake, spiritually awake, and you're like, that doesn't sound right? What do you do when you get stuck?
First thing I do is try to step back. And I have to say, I still experience Groundhog Day. I have a sister who's living. I have my mother who's living.
Right.
I have long-term marriage. I still experience Groundhog Day. And
Yeah.
I just, one of the rules that that I apply is step back first and step back and get centered. I think, Kat, you really pegged it in the sense of that heart centeredness, that desire to use what I feel is like really strong inside of me. What is it that I want right now? What is it that I want for myself? What is it then? I'll ask myself for myself first. What is it that might benefit those people around me? I'll ask
Mhm.
God. I'll ask my God. I know everybody has a different definition, but some people call it spirit, the last spirit.
Mhm.
And I'll try to get grounded in that sense of both being keeping my feet on the ground while also looking upward to, okay, how is it that you want me to be right now? How is it that
Right.
you want me to act?
Yep.
It's valuable stepping back, stepping back.
Mm. Yep. Stepping back. Yeah. All right. And then step 4 is finding the treasure. So obviously, we all went through some difficult times, right, in our families, even within ourselves. And how did you find the treasure within yourself? So you know how something negative sometimes shows up, right? So even for me, I'm teaching about energetic boundaries, and of course, what happens? The universe gives me something to mess with my boundary a bit there. So then it only becomes a problem when you've already moved the boundary and somebody keeps on moving towards that or inside or past that wall, right? That boundary. So for me, it's always a lifelong lesson. Every day is an experience. There's always a miracle behind these lessons. And how do you guys look at the treasure after that? Because there's like ways of dealing with irritations or negative situations, right? Or there's many ways of dealing with that. So I want you to share, Kat, how you deal with those things. How do you find the treasure in the difficult times and the challenges in your family?
Well, my family of origin, like my parents, I recognize that I did choose them. I recognize I wouldn't be where I am now without that. Because if I had a very idyllic or rosy childhood, it would not occur to me to be a leader in transforming how we educate and parent children.
Right.
So that's the treasure, is that now I'm going to be able to help people really up level parenting and educating.
Right.
And then with my own family, my children and my spouse, any of the difficult things that we go through, like moving here wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But I recognize that I'm a leader in this new world. And so when anything goes wrong, I see, like you were just speaking of, any kind of trigger, any kind of like coming to Hawaii was we went through quite a bit of difficulty. We were thrown into what they call Pele's fire. She's the goddess of fire here. But I look at that as being initiated and having, just like with the trigger comes to help us reveal our shadow and handle it and dissolve it or transmute it. So I look at every, maybe not always in the moment, but I look at the things that we struggle with as strengthening us, as bringing us closer, and as burning away, all of the BS that belief systems, and it stands for something else as well, that are not serving us.
Awesome. Amy, I think there's another question again for Kat.
Yes, for Kat. Rosemary is asking, is the school something that she can do congruent with her child's school right now, the school that he's in? Will they work together?
Yeah, the current program, for people that are not here, the current program, I speak to someone on the phone and I find out what their needs and goals are. And if the need and the goal is that they're elsewhere and they're already educating the child and they need some supplementation that helps them learn about spirituality and their power, that's something that there's a group and we meet twice a week for 2 hours total. So it can absolutely be a supplementation to the other school. It's not a full-time school.
Awesome. Perfect. Awesome. All right. How about you, Renee? How did you find that treasure in all your difficulties?
My internal spirit has been there forever. And it just took the strength to tap into it, to really keep tapping into it. And in that process, I guess I've also, I know I've also smiled a lot. And people say to me, even on my worst days, I'm smiling. And they'll say to me, Renee, thank you for smiling. You're bringing such joy to my life. Because I learned that the outward smile helps us to smile inwardly. And so it helps me and it helps the other person.
Yep.
When my mom suffered from a stroke, probably about 60 years ago now, I realized that she wasn't changing. And that was a rude awakening for me. I always wanted her to change, to love me differently, love me more, do whatever, be what. And I realized in that process that she probably wanted me to be what I couldn't be either. As dumb as that sounds, but it's wisdom there. And so I had to let go. And I had to let go and trust that interconnection of my gut and my head. And I'm going to just add that embryologically, our brain embryologically grows out of the gut area. And so the two are connected when we talk about a gut sense. So I keep tapping into that gut sense that also involves the brain, doing the heart and the head together.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I had the experience of that warning sign of a stroke. But for me, that was an awakening and going, what am I doing then? And it was scary, right? Like, because it's either I lose my life with a newborn child in NICU at that time, my fourth kid, or I do something else. And I chose to do something else. But I remember how emotional that was, because they said, like, when you look at Louise Hay's books, A to Z Healing, right?
Yeah.
And I look at stroke and it says, you're trying to choose whether you want to go or you want to stay. And definitely I'm like, I am not going. I needed to stay in this body at that time, right? With 4 kids, I started thinking, how your brain gives you these stories. And all I thought was like, no. I am staying here right now, whatever that looks like. And so that was my rude awakening, is the stroke. So, but for you, it was her stroke that gave you the rude awakening that she won't change.
Right. And we all have choices. We all have choices to make. I could have stayed stuck with that, or I could say, okay, now God put me here for a reason. It's my spirit. It's my soul. It's my thumbprint. Okay, God, what do you want from me?
Exactly. That was what the awakening to is, like, keeping on asking these questions, like, what do you want from me? What do you want? and I remember when, because I can see, right, the body, that's my special gift. And I saw, how the Linda Blair movie, is that Exorcist or something? And I saw these weird energies, and it's like my head was moving around. I'm like, no, I can't do those types of work. I said, I'm short. I'm Filipina. I even said I was weak. It was interesting. I had all these excuses coming from my head about why can I not do healing? And that kind of healing, I said, I don't want that. I was picky. And then I heard a laugh saying, yeah, right, you're already doing it, because I was treating cancer patients at that time. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I was trying to look for evidence not to do it. That was my 3D self, I remember. All right, so we have a few more questions. So Amy, go ahead and read the questions for us. Pam had a question. Let's ask the panel.
Absolutely.
Go
ahead. Pam asks how did you handle or overcome family values when it comes to religion and what you wanted to do?
Okay, who wants to answer that? Renee, you want to chime in on that one?
I'll jump in. I grew up in a Jewish family. I love my religion. And my family was not as religious as I was. I almost became Orthodox, and I have to say almost, until I realized at some point that was an obsessive compulsive part of me that wanted to do that. It wasn't my true love of my religion. And so I just kept saying, I just kept demonstrating to my family that this is where I'm at. I follow a lot more religious beliefs than my family does, to be honest. And wanted to take it further as a child, and they told me they just couldn't handle that. As a child, they couldn't handle me wanting to learn more about my religion. So, okay, so I had to wait till I was an adult. And I started coming down into the space again of what's best for me? Where's my spirit? How can I best carry that out into the world? And so I just gently, I didn't put it in their face. I don't believe in putting it in somebody's face. Just put it there in the world. This is who I am. This is what I am.
Yeah, awesome. Kat, did you grow up in religion before I answer that question?
My mom took me to church some. My father refused to go after growing up and being forced to go a lot to church. So I saw the disconnect, like they weren't on the same page. My mom was only kind of sort of invested in it. My father's parents, my father's father was a Baptist minister. So it didn't, I went a little bit, but it felt too limiting to me. A lot of the stories felt confusing. So I now know that I did have a very strong connection with spirit, but it was my own. And I felt more connection when I would look out the window at night, like at bedtime, and do my own kind of prayer. So I very early had made my own connection and saw that religion really wasn't going to get me there. And so I've just had my own relationship with the creator of all things.
Yeah, perfect. And I want to answer that question on overcoming the family values, when it comes to religion. So I was born in a Catholic family, so I actually went to church. And when I was little, there was this part of me that, how the world happens and, life happens and you engage in different relationships. And then I'm like, how come people go to church? This is me observing, right? How come people go to church? I said, and then outside they do something else opposite of what they heard, right? So that was a big question for me. Or we would go to the priest for confession, but then you go back to your old ways of whatever sin you've committed, and then you go back again and confess again. And I'm like, this is kind of ridiculous. To me, it's a push and pull. And it's a little, hypocrisy on my part. If I'm thinking, why am I going to go there if I'm going to do this again anyway? So I decided, I said, I need just to be honest, right? And then really practice honesty and whatever virtues and values that I've learned. And again, as I kept on moving, fell in love and moved to a different religion, which is very, very, very strict, right? And that itself, again, at that time, I think my soul was looking for guidance and I needed some structure and I needed the community. And, we all go through that part in life. And then eventually I go, I really feel a better connection when I'm, like Kat said, with nature or I'm alone. And I didn't realize I didn't want to be alone before. It's because you have to face your own fears. You have to face your own self. You have to overcome a lot of things, right? That you thought you were, but you weren't. So for me, the energy work that I've done, I've helped other people as well to clear whatever their family input and programs are. It helped me realize what I really am, what my thumbprint was about, what I'm supposed to be in this planet. So it was a journey, right? But it was difficult getting out of something, okay? You never feel happy getting out of something. I mean, think about the divorces in the families, right? How easy it is to have a divorce. I haven't heard someone super happy when they're leaving a relationship. It's always difficult because you have put your time, energy, everything, and money in there. And now it's like a tribe, right? And now if you get kicked out by a tribe, did it feel bad for me? Yeah, it didn't feel good at all. It took several years to even release all of the programs that they have, that I have allowed, right, to bring into my fold. So it is really connecting to your higher guidance, your intuition, and the thing is, they told us, the religions I've had, told us when you feel good, you better be worried because you don't know what's going to happen. But life always has ups and downs. So I would suggest to really know, like ask your higher guidance, your angels who you ask about these things, your spirit guides, God, right? And start journaling and really see the revelation. Because I think God can really speak through us, through the messages. And that's what I would suggest you do to help you overcome that. Because it doesn't mean you're leaving them, okay? You're not leaving the family. You're not leaving. It's just you're changing. That's what they're afraid of. And that's the step 2 of overcoming fears and judgment. They're afraid that they would lose you or you would leave them because you're changing. Did you guys see that in your family, Kat and Renee? When you started changing, like what was the response of your family when you were changing?
I can answer. I think that for my father, he wanted me to be like he wanted me as a child, like to be quiet and not to make a lot of fuss. Yeah. So he saw me as, he wanted to know why I was writing a book. Why was it necessary to, to tell my story or speak about him and my mother. And so I just had to, just be true to myself and not allow his judgment. It was really his fear, right? That, his fear, yeah. So
he doesn't want to be exposed because this is going to be in a book. It's everywhere.
Yeah. So he doesn't see. He's very 3D. He doesn't see any need for a new perspective or he doesn't see that speaking about our pain and our what we've gone through. He doesn't see that could help somebody else, and that. But
yeah. Wow. How about you, Renee? Was there a time in your life that you had to overcome those things? And how's your family? How was your parents? How did they respond to your changes?
Numerous times, may I add, not just once. It keeps coming back around and around and around again at different levels. As you peel the onion, you get closer to the inside, to the root. Yeah, I would second what Kat's saying. Fearful of changes. What do you mean you can't do this? What do you mean you're not going to be here? Always challenging if it was my fault. Right. And I had to have that internal strength to say, no, this is what I need to be doing to grow, to become the person that I need to be, and to have that strength, that fortitude. Very much so. I haven't written a book yet. I'm going to say yet. I don't know if that's in the future or not. If I were to put out my version of our family dynamics, what it looked like, I have to say when I moved from college, I grew up in Baltimore and went to college in New York at Alfred University, a very small university. I then moved to Rochester and I had 2 cousins and they were wonderful. They were like parents to me, and I was newlywed. And they'd say to me, Renee, your parents just love you too much. You got to break away from them. And that was very hard because even though I was long distance, they still tried to control. So, and I know they did it out of love. I know that they did it out of the depth of their love, but it wasn't how I needed to be loved.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah, I go to that 5 love languages, but even then, right, even if we have all those 5 different ways of showing love or receiving love, it's interesting because even like for my husband, I would say, I love positive affirmations. And it took him a few years to deliver that. Does that make sense? It's very interesting. Yeah. Like you're saying it, you're spelling it, it's right here.
It reminds me, I think in terms of songs.
You don't expect.
Yeah, I think in terms of songs, Vivian, the music. I think in terms of songs, I think about the song 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. It's spelled right after how to leave your lover, but it just slip out the back, Jack, like, and I had to keep repeating that because there were ways to leave wound my parents in a healthy way and still love
Right.
them.
Yes, exactly.
Still love them.
Okay. Amy, we have one last question by Maria.
We do. Maria asks, how do you keep a family relationship when they don't want to heal?
Mm. All right, guys. So you want to share yours first? How do you keep a
want me
family
to go?
relationship? Yeah, go ahead, Kat. When they don't want to heal.
I don't consider it that I have to speak of my father. My mother is trying to heal. She you know, like I wrote down the name of the book that Vivian was speaking about earlier. I know that my mother will read that. She'll try. I don't think it's that my father doesn't want to heal. I think that he just doesn't. He's not capable. I think it was you, Vivian, that told me I have to think of my father as being like 12 years old or 9, maybe even 9 years old. He just doesn't understand. I can't teach him calculus.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he gets so defensive and shut down because he's so 3D, which is okay. That's just the way that he came, that he really doesn't even think he needs to heal. So for me, I've had to set a very firm boundary.
Right.
Because, you know, I feel energy, I can feel, you know, I don't enjoy his company.
Mm.
So I just have to do what we were talking about earlier, that accept him exactly the way that he is, which means I don't want to spend very much time with him. And it's really heartbreaking, but I just have to allow him to be in his process. And that I can be on a 5D path while he stays where he is, and that's fine. So yeah, we can't force anyone to heal.
No, we can't. And there's such a thing also as a young soul, like a middle-aged soul and an advanced, you know, like it doesn't mean we're better than others when we're on 5D. I just want to explain that, right? It just means we're all in a different path, and the process, it's kind of like going to college, right? You know, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're all in different phases in our development, and perhaps you didn't sign up for 5D in this planet right now in this lifetime. But all of us did sign up to be here in this lifetime because we're here. It's just we are all having to work on different lessons at a time. That's why. So Renee, what would you say about your comment on Maria's question? How do you keep a family relationship when they don't want to heal?
I just go to the space of keep practicing giving love. When I love myself and I feel centered, I can give love to the other person. It doesn't matter if they give to me the way that I want them to give it to me. It's just how do I just keep giving love from the heart? It's a hard practice to do. I'll be the first to say that. I still am challenged to do that chronically with certain people in my life. It doesn't go away. But my attitude is that especially my mom, as I said, my dad is gone, but my mom birthed me. And so I often say, it doesn't say to love your parent. It doesn't say to respect your parent. If I really went back to the Ten Commandments, it just says, how do you give honor to your parent? So I had to give honor to my parents, both plural, and an aunt of mine who died she didn't have any children. So some difficulties with her. I just had to keep focusing on giving honor, loving her and giving honor, and not taking in their bad energy. Not taking it myself. So.
Yes, thank you. So my response to that, so Maria said that she found forgiveness was a multi-participant process. It's so true. And unfortunately, like I said, I have treated a lot of clients that sometimes they are opening their past life experience, and we may have karma with them. That's the reason usually why we have our parents and our children and everybody. It's a lot of karmic relationships. It doesn't mean we owe them anything. But the thing is, if the soul remembers that you owe them something and they want some payback here in this lifetime, so they're of course coming from a very negative place, right? To me, it's like, hey, you know what? I already died in that lifetime. I should be done. It's like that's supposed to be done and closed, right? Closed, like locked. But then people don't remember that. Unfortunately, our soul remembers everything. And when you are in a different planet or a different plane and you're not in present time, that's why I tell people be completely present with your family, because Kat had the vision and she wanted to have that vision for her family. She had to hold on to that vision, even if everything around her, her situation doesn't really warrant that, right? So if you look at that, we do have to focus on the dream, whatever you wanted to bring about in this lifetime. And if you are not 100% present, unfortunately, you can't, because you're here, but you're thinking about something else, and you're over there planning about the future, or you're in the background and you're like, oh, well, you're not here. So when you're here, present, then you can make that happen. So I want to thank our special guest today, Kat Mulvaney, and also Renee Feller. And for me, guys, you know that you can reach me and have a free grounding video, right? And you can also reach me by contacting me at, where was that? There's my free grounding video, and also overwhelm911.com. So let me see if I can show up all of, so we have to do it one at a time. So that's katmulvaney.com, the free book, A Good Day at School. Please make sure you get that. It's free. And also integratedcoachingbaltimore.com. Thank you, Renee. And thank you, Kat, for being here. And thank you, Amy, for facilitating. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, My Spiritual GPS. And next week, it's a special surprise for a lot of the female entrepreneurs. And that would be, was that June 2nd? It's Wednesday at